Hello again and welcome back to Football Index Moneyball. For the next instalment in the Pick of the Day series, we have a 27-year-old Spanish attacking midfielder who carried his team in the last two seasons of La Liga as they battled for survival, then following their relegation earned a move to a real up-and-coming team who in my eyes have some of the best young attacking talent in Europe for him to play with, which should help him to improve on his already impressive stats, including a max PB score of 208 in the old matrix. Then we have the usual expected profit analysis, which makes for a very compelling case to buy this player, and also turns up an alternate player who's worth consideration for completely different reasons. Just a reminder, if you do get any value or entertainment from the video and you want to help support the channel, don't forget to like, subscribe and leave a comment below. You can also hit the bell icon to be notified when new videos are posted, and if you want to follow me on Twitter, then you can search @IndexMoneyball. So the player we've gone for today is Christian Portu. As I mentioned earlier, he's a 27-year-old attacking mid and he's just starting his first season with Real Sociedad. In pre-season, two of my wonderkid holds, Alex Isaac and Martin Odegaard, moved to Sociedad to join another of my wonderkid holds, Mikel Oyarzabal. This, in combination with the fact that Xabi Alonso has returned to the club as a coach for the youth team, piqued my interest, and during my research, one of the players I identified as a good purchase was Portu. There's a few things that interested me about Portu's career that aren't immediately obvious when you just look at his stats. We'll get to those a little bit later, but the obvious attraction here is his price. At 27, he should be just reaching his prime, and I think 53p is a very low risk price for an entry point. And the price also means that any IPD payouts are pretty attractive. One other thing to note for Portu is the fact that he's only got one name. So I'm not going to factor in any media dividends when I do my price analysis. But if he did have a good season, and I do think Sociedad have got a team that could potentially push for European places this year, and I'm expecting a lot of goals out of them. If he did do that and he was to be linked with another club, the fact that he has one name means he's a lot more likely to get the media dividends. And with the media dividends opening up to squad players, you know, there's a possibility of some links and a chance for him to win something. So now I've come over to Transfermarkt to take a look at Portu's profile. As we said earlier, he's 27-year-old Spanish midfielder and he's never had any caps for his country. It's a pretty difficult team to break into, so I wouldn't be factoring that in for him to get any caps in the future or to be playing at the Euros or in the qualifiers or anything. It's not beyond the realms of possibility, but I think it's probably a bit ambitious to say that that was part of the reason for buying him. So I just wanted to take a look at his overall stats. And the one that I'm most interested in is the La Liga stats. So he played 75 games over the last two seasons, scoring 20 goals and getting 10 assists. And when you work it out per 90, it worked out to about 0.45 per 90 minutes. Over his career, that's a little bit lower. If you take these bottom figures, it works out more like 0.3. But he spent a lot of his career in the lower leagues, or 3 seasons prior to the 2 seasons in La Liga anyway. He started off with Valencia and came through their youth team before getting sold to Albacete in the second league in Spain. He spent a season with them and they were relegated, and then he moved to Girona. Had a season with them in La Liga 2, helped him to promotion with 8 goals and 8 assists. And then he obviously had the 2 most recent seasons that we were just looking at. I've jumped over now to the La Liga table from last season, and I just wanted to point out one of the most interesting things about Portu's statistics. And this is that although his return of 9 goals and 3 assists for last season isn't anything extraordinary, when you look at the team's goals for the season, they only actually scored 37. So that means he was involved in 32% of them. For the prior season, they scored 50 goals and managed to come 10th. And that season, Portu scored 11 and got 6 assists. So again, he was involved in 34% of the goals, which really shows how important a player he was for them and the potential that could be unlocked by playing with a better team with some really exciting attacking talent this season. So now I'm going to go straight into the player price analysis for this pick, as I think the combination of Portu's price, him only having one name, his consistent scoring record and his importance to Girona over the last 2 seasons are a good enough case to buy him if the potential profits work out. For this one, I actually had a couple of closely comparable players in the 27-year-old attacking midfielder category that were very close in price to Portu, and I think this is a sign that the age range in general has been undervalued on the index. Mario Götze is actually another player that I own, but he's one of my smaller positions. He's a player that I think is massively undervalued considering his pedigree and the fact that his contract's due to expire in summer. With playing time looking unlikely for him in the current Dortmund team, there's a case for buying Götze over Portu if you think there could be a big move for him in January at the end of the season. But for this pick, I went for Portu as I expected him to get more game time and for his price to correct quicker. If Portu were to hit 80p by November and his form was just okay with a couple of goals and assists, I'd probably consider moving money into Götze at that time, as I do think there's going to be some speculation around him. Then I also took a look at Florent Mollet at Montpellier, but his scoring record's not as strong as Porto's, and again, one of the main attractions for Porto is the quality of the team that he's now going to be playing in compared to the last 2 seasons. For my price targets, I had a bit more difficulty finding similar players of the same age, so I ended up using 2 28-year-olds for the low and the mid-range price targets. I think this works pretty well, as if anything it's just more conservative, as age is a big factor for player price on the index usually. So for my low target, I used Wabi Kazri at Saint Etienne. So he's a year older but has a slightly better scoring record in the French league of 0.56 goals and assists per 90. He has had a bit of a slow start to the season so far, so I actually would say there's good value in his price even at 78p. Then for my mid target, I went for Sergio Canales at Real Betis. Betis finished 1 place below Sociedad last season, so they're a fairly similar team, and Canales is a year older playing in the same position but with a worse scoring record of 0.34 combined goals and assists per 90. So his price is great for us as a comparison, because you could almost argue that Porto should be more expensive of the two now. Then for our high price, we have Pablo Sarabia. This is a really interesting one because until last season, Sarabia's record was pretty average. Then he had a breakout year and got 12 goals and 13 assists for Sevilla. Obviously, he got his move to PSG, but his price before the move was up as high as £1.84. So it's good to know that in the best case scenario, this is something that might be achievable. But I would think without speculation, this is a pretty ambitious target for Porto. Then for the expected dividends, I added in 1p for in-play dividends. Porto started his first game for Sociedad last weekend, and he's already got 1 assist this season off the bench. There's currently 4 upcoming eligible fixtures for Porto, and this gives us our price target profit ranges of 49% for the low, 69% mid, and 149% for high. I think my interpretation of this in combination with the other factors I mentioned in the video is that my personal profit target is somewhere between the mid and the high. And I think the low is very achievable in the short term. That's all we've got for you on today's pick. Again, if you enjoyed the video, like, comment and subscribe. Also, if you know someone else who might like the video, then sharing with them would really help me out. There are links in the description for signing up to Football Index and Football Index Edge if you haven't already. And don't forget to check out the other videos on the channel for more strategy videos and the other picks of the day. Most picks are long-term holds with depressed prices for some reason or other, so often the picks can still offer the same value, if not better, a few weeks after. And the research methods and reasoning can help if you're new to the index and want to learn to analyse your own players. Thanks for watching, good luck on the index.